x equals to x plus 1, and here x is cancel out. So it means for this kind of map we are not having any fixed point, because to calculate the fixed point we assume fx equals to x, and here our fx is like x plus 1. so if you assume x plus 1 equals to x, your x is cancel out. So for this function we don't have any fixed point. Similarly, we take another map like fx equals to, if I take a map like if I take a map fx equals to, if I take a map fx equals to 2x plus 1, and this is a map from this like set of real number to the set of real number we are assuming. So what is the fixed point of this map? So I have to find one real number x such that the f of that real number is the same point. For simplicity, if I put x equals to 0, I am getting 1, and for x equal to 1, I am getting 3. So 1, 0 are not the fixed point. To obtain the fixed point, what I assume like that this x equals to 2x plus 1, and if I simplify this equation x equals to 2x plus 1, I will get uh, x equals to minus 1. So minus 1 is the fixed point to this function fx equals to 2x plus 1. You can substitute, you can try this, like if I put x equal to minus 1 here, what I will get? Minus 1, because 2 into minus 1 minus 2 plus 1, finally minus 1 we will get. So the f image of minus 1 is minus 1 under the function fx equals to 2x plus 1. So minus 1 is the fixed point to the function fx. So, so this is the definition of fixed point of a function. So, so here our target is to find a iteration function phi x, and to find a fixed its a fixed point. So if we are able to find a fixed point to this function phi x, then the fixed point is called the root of the given equation ex equal minus 10x. So to solve this kind of whether another problem is here is the whether we have, because there are many way to generate this phi x. So which one is guaranteed that this fixed point iteration will converge? So for that we have condition this one. If this is true, that is phi dash of x is less than x within the given interval where our roots lies, like if we suppose like our root here lies between 0 and 1, because we have already tested this. For x equals to 0 we are getting f0 is 1. If I substitute here x equals to 0, then I will get 1, and for x equals to 1 I am getting this one. So it means one is positive, another one is negative. So it means that our root lies between 0 and 1. So I select my initial point from this interval 0 to 1. And another thing I have to check whether the first derivative absolute value is less than 1 for all x lies between the interval 0 to 1. If these two conditions are true, that is initial guess from this interval, and the value of value of the first derivative of x is less than first derivative of phi x is less than 1 for all x, then this will definitely going to converge toward the root. So I know that the root is lying between 0 and 1. So I can select any point within that. So I have selected this x naught equals to 0 0.1, even though you can select x naught equals to 0 0.5 also. 0 plus 1 by 2, you take midpoint, and 0 0.5 can also be selected because your root is lying between the interval 0 to 1. So here we have taken x equals to x naught equals to 0. So here, so we have obtained this x equals to uh, e raised to power x upon 10, and this is our iteration function. So the left hand x is replaced by this xk plus 1, and the right hand is e raised to power k upon 10. So to get this, right, like x naught I have select chosen 0 0.1 within the 0 to 1. Now to calculate x1, what I have to do, x1 is like here I substituted k equals to 0. So x1 is equals to phi of x naught, and phi of x naught from here it is e raised to power 0 0.1 upon 10, and after simplification this is the value. So this is my x1. Now to get x2, I have to calculate phi of x1, and phi of x1 is again e raised to power this upon 10, and this is the like. So after 5 iteration or 6 iteration, x6 is this one, 0.118325, and I can see that this is we can say, because we are not going to perform all the infinite number of iterations, so somewhere we have to stop, that is we have to define our stopping criteria, that if that much is the error, then we can stop here. So like here we are assuming that if our absolute value of f of xk is less than 10 raised to power minus 6, they will stop. So this is the approximated route we have obtained through the fixed point iteration, and this axis f axis is this one, and this one is near to 0. So we can, because we want the, we say na this is the root only when then this f of the x6 is 0, but we know that in iterative method we are not generally we are not getting exactly 0, we are getting value near to 0. So this is like a near to 0, 10 raised to power minus 6, like something. So we can, like, this is a better estimate of the root to this equation. Then we have another problem like this, fx equals to x cube plus x square minus 1 equals to 0. So to solve this, even though in exam I specifically mentioned you solve this problem by this particular method. So if I told you to solve with the help of fixed point iteration, then you have to use this procedure. So like if this is the problem, x cube plus x square minus 1 equals to 0. So then to get its iteration function phi x, I have two ways. Either I can go in this way or in this way. So first I go in this way, x cube equals to 1 minus x square, then x equals to 1 minus x raised to power 1 by 3, and then phi x equals to 1 minus x square raised to power 1 by 3 is our iteration function, because we are, from this we are trying to get x equals to some phi x. So this is our phi x. If I go in this way, another way is this one. I have taken x square on the left side and 1 minus x cube on the right side, and this is our phi x, another one. So there are many procedure like this and this. So this is 1 phi x, you can say it's phi 1x, and it is phi 2x, and both are iterative functions. But we have to check whether these phi x satisfying the condition, this one, phi dash of x is less than 0 within the domain of the root. If it is satisfied by both of them, then we can apply both of them. If it is not satisfied by one of them, one of phi x, then we leave that phi x. So we first select the root of the uh, interval. So root lies in the interval 0 to 1. We can easily check if fx is this one, f0 is minus 1, and f of 1 is 0, 1. So one is negative, another one is positive. So root lies between 0 and 1. Now we calculate the derivative of this function, because this is our phi x, so we have to check whether the what is the derivative value. So this is the derivative value, and then we can see that it is like 2 by 3, and x is lies between 0 and 1. This is turned out to be If I take the absolute sense, this is turned out to be less than 1. For the case here, actually it is 3 by 2 we are getting in the numerator itself. So in this case, it may be more than absolute phi dash of x is more than 1 when our x lies between 0 to 1. So we solve this. So we calculate, we select this here, what we call, we select our initial guess x naught. We have again taken 0 0.1 because the root lies between 0 to 1. But you can select x naught as a 0 0.5 also. And then we calculate our phi of x naught. So what is phi x? This is our phi x. And for this phi x, our phi dash of x is absolute value is less than 1, where small x lies, for all small x lies between 0 to 1. So from this we will modify the value x1 equals to phi of x naught, that is 1.1 minus 0 0.1 square raised to power 1 by 3. After simplification you are getting this and this, and like this we are getting. So this is the way we apply our fixed point iteration. So generally the to test this condition is very difficult. This phi dash of x is less than 1 for x lies between 0 to 1, but in exam I will give you those kind of problems so that you can easily check. This is like you can easily test whether this condition hold or not. But in generality, like if we have some complicated problems, so this is not like useful. In the better sense, we use our either Newton's-Raphson method or regular falsi method.
Sir,
Hmm.
sir, I missed a part of there. My net is a bit weak, so I did not hear it well. The part where we're taking uh first derivative of phi 0.1 for the second one. Uh,
Um,
why are we not taking that value, sir?
in that case, actually, if we are taking actually this value, we test this whether for x lies between 0 and 1. If we substitute like x near to 1, is turned out to be phi dash of x is greater than 1.
Oh, okay,
This
sir.
value is greater than 1, and that is the problem. Okay, because we have to select those phi x uh, for which phi dash of x is less than 1. This is the condition for is required for convergence of the method. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
And this is another like first we see the theorem related to the fixed point iteration, and you remember the proof and the statement also, because I may ask in the viva what is the statement of fixed point theorem. So this is the statement of fixed point theorem. If phi x is the continuous function in some interval ab that contains the root xi, and phi dash of x is absolute values of phi dash of x is less than equal to c less than 1 in this interval, then for any choice of x naught within the interval ab, the sequence xk, and how we obtain this sequence xk, that it determines from this xk plus 1 equal to phi xk. Here phi xk is our iteration function, converge to the root xi of x equals to phi x, or fx equals to x minus phi x. So whatever x naught we select here, and if we use this as a iteration method, if this iteration function satisfy this condition, then this sequence, because this is a sequence like x1 x2 x3 x infinity, so this sequence converges toward the root if we perform infinitely many iteration. So this sequence converges to the root of fx equals to 0, because our initial target is to find the root of the equation fx equals to 0, and we are rewriting fx equals to 0 as x minus phi x or x equals to phi x. Because x equals to phi x, we have rewritten the original equation fx equals to 0. So we'll see this one. Let the exact root of the equation fx equals to 0 be xi. So if don't know yet what is, whether it is a root or not, but we assume that this one is the root. We don't know its value, but we assume whatever xi is there, but there is some xi for which f of xi is 0. So if this is the root, and we have taken this as a its equivalent, because we know how to write fx in terms of x into x equals to phi x. So if xi is the root of fx equals to 0, so it means if I put here f xi, it will give me xi equal to xi minus phi of xi equal to 0, and finally phi of xi equal to xi. So if xi is the root of the equation, then we obtain xi is the fixed root of the function phi x. So phi xi equal to xi, as xi is the root of the equation fx equals to 0. Now phi xi equals to xi, and phi of xk equal to xk plus 1. This equation and this equation, phi xi equal to xi and phi xk equal to xk plus 1, and then we subtract this equation, and this equation subtracts. We are taking phi of xi, this phi of xi to the other side, and like we can write like phi xi equal to xi, even though we can say xi equal to phi xi, and then we subtract, because xk plus 1 is equals to phi of xk, and xi equal to phi of xi. So we subtract these two, we will get equation number 1. Xi minus xk plus 1 equals to phi xi minus phi of xk. So xk is actually the sequence of the which we determine from this, but we are getting xk from some x naughts. Now this equation 1 we have, and if you remember your like Lagrange mean value theorem. So Lagrange mean value theorem state that if you have any function phi x, and the phi x like it is continuous in some interval ab and differentiable in some interval ab, then there exists a point like phi dash of c equals to f a minus fb upon b minus a. This is the Lagrange mean value theorem that you have already learned in your BTech first semester. There is a Rolle's theorem, then Lagrange mean value theorem, and then Cauchy mean value theorem. So this is the Lagrange mean value theorem. So here on the right side part, we will think about this part only. One point is xi is the exact root, and another point is xk, which is the point of the sequence. So either xk is greater than xi or less than xi. It may be anything like, so we have created an interval such that whichever is minimum, if xi is minimum, so it is xi, if xk is minimum, it is xk, and whichever is maximum on the other side. So if xi is less than xk, this interval is xi comma xk, and if xk is less than xi, then this interval is xk comma xi, because anyone can be greater than the other. So that's why we have written minimum of xi xk and comma maximum of xi xk. So this may be xi xk interval or xk xi interval, depending on which one is greater. So we have taken one interval, suppose xi comma xk. If j comma xk is a one interval and we are assuming that this one is continuous in the interval and its derivative is also exist and it is less than 1 in that interval, so it means by Lagrange mean value theorem there is exists some point j k. So you have to notice this here. Here we have written as j k. So j k is the new point lies between the interval j and xk. So j k is greater than j and less than xk. So this j k exists such that phi dash of j k is equals to phi of j minus phi of xk divided by j minus xk. And again we multiply this to the other side and we will have this one. And again this we know that this phi j equals to j, as j is the fixed point of the iteration function, even though j is the root. So phi j equal to j, so we replace this phi j by j, so we have this one. So we have obtained j minus xk into phi dash of jk equals to this j minus xk. So here what we have done, phi j equals to j, as j is the root of fx and j is the fixed point of phi, and phi of xk replaced by xk plus 1 because this is the mm, like fixed point iteration, because we have assumed that na xk plus 1 equal to phi of xk. So phi of xk is replaced by xk plus 1. So we have obtained here j minus xk plus 1 equals to this one, j minus xk phi dash of jk, where jk is the point lies between j comma xk. And then what is this one? Wait a minute. So I think I am again audible to everyone. So here we have written like xi minus xk plus 1 is equals to xi minus xk, but xi is the exact root and xk is the approximated root, and their difference is called the error. You know how we define error earlier also. So error at the k plus 1th step is like xk minus xi, and the error at k step is epsilon k. So epsilon k is this one, xi minus xk is this epsilon k, and xi minus epsilon k plus 1 is epsilon k plus 1. So this is the, this we actually we have interchanged the side, left hand side and right hand side we have interchanged, and simultaneously we have rewritten xk minus xi as the error in terms of epsilon k. So we have this one. Now again we see that because we have taken here the interval xi comma xk, if instead of this x comma xi comma xk, if I take interval like xi comma xk minus 1, because if xk is the approximated root, then xk minus 1 is also approximated root, and xk minus 2 is also approximated root. So if I take instead of taking this xi comma xk, if I take xi comma xk minus 1, so if xi comma xk minus 1, then similar theorem can be applied, because xk minus is again a approximate root to the xi, and phi is also satisfying all the condition of Lagrange mean value theorem. So it means if I take here xk minus 1, I will get another point xi of k minus 1. I will get another point xi of k minus 1 if I take replace this xk by xk minus 1 by applying the same procedure, this whole procedure. So I will get epsilon xi of k minus 1, and again this equation 3, we can see that if we apply in recursive manner, we will replace, because here epsilon k plus 1 is equals to epsilon k phi dash of xi k. So if I replace this index k by k minus 1, I will get epsilon k equals to epsilon k phi dash of epsilon k minus 1. If I replace here k by k minus 1. In equation 3, if I recursively apply the Lagrange mean value theorem and replacing k by k minus 1, I will get epsilon k equals to epsilon k minus 1 phi dash of xi, xi k minus 1. And then again I use this equation for k equal to k minus 2. So if I use k equal to k minus 2 in equation 3, then I can replace this epsilon. If I substitute here in equation 3 k by k minus 2, I will get in the left hand side epsilon k minus 1, here epsilon k minus 2, and phi dash of xi k minus 2, this one. So recursively we are getting this one. So if we go recursively, we will go till epsilon naught phi dash of x xi naught phi dash of xi 1 phi dash of xi k. So this is the way we'll get epsilon k error at the k plus 1th iteration is rewritten in terms of this. Now again we have assumed in the statement of the theorem phi dash of x is less than equal to c is less than 1. So it means because all x xi naught xi k we have selected within the domain from xi to x. So if x naught is chosen such that it is lying between the interval 0, interval a to b, so it means all these xi naught, xi 1, xi k are also belonging to the interval a to b. And if all of them are belonging a to b interval, then it means phi dash of xi naught is less than c, phi dash of xi 1 is less than c, and phi dash of xi k is less than c. So, and how many of them are like 1, 2, until k they are k plus 1. So we replace all this by c because they are all dominated by c. So this error, absolute error of k plus 1 at the step, absolute of epsilon k plus 1 is less than equals to epsilon, absolute of epsilon naught c raised to power k plus 1. Now you know that this c is less than 1 because c is lies between absolute of phi dash of x and less than 1. So obviously c is less than 1. If I take in this equation limiting k tends to infinity, the right side of this goes to 0. And since here we have absolute value, if right side of this goes to 0, this absolute value is equal to 0 because it cannot be less than 0 as it is a absolute of something. So it should be either 0 or positive number. But right side is going towards 0 when k is tending to infinity. This absolute of epsilon k plus 1 is equivalent to 0 or equal to 0. So we have taken here k tending to infinity as k c is less than 1. So if this c is less than 1, and when we taking limit k tending to infinity, c raised to power k is going towards 0. So this whole thing is going towards 0, and the left hand side this is actually when k is tending to infinity is equal to 0. And if this is equal to 0, we know that what is the error epsilon k plus 1? It is rewritten as in terms of this, because error is like exact root minus approximated root, xi minus xk plus 1. And finally, if this is equal to 0, then it means that the sequence xk plus 1 is converging to the root xi, and this we want, because we are claiming that whatever iteration function we have selected, and if we have selected that iteration function in such a manner phi dash of x is less than 1 in the domain, and the initial approximation is also selected from the domain, then the sequence xk plus 1 equals to phi of xk converge towards the root. And this is the claim we are getting, that when k is infinity, this phi xk plus 1 is actually the root if k is infinite. So, so we have claimed that our claim is like proved here, that if we select iteration function phi x such that its first derivative is less than 1 within the domain of initial approximation, then xk plus 1 equals to phi of xk is going definitely converging towards root. Now we have another theorem, and the theorem is bisection method always converges. So you have already seen the sequenced method, your regular falsy method, your Newton method, and the fixed point iteration. Newton method sometimes converge, sometimes may not converge. This is a fixed point iteration. If you have satisfied the condition of the fixed point iteration, then only it will converge. And the secant method is also not converging, but this bisection method and regular falsy method, they both are the method that always converge. So you see this theorem, let f be a continuous function, and let us denote the successive interval that we obtained by bisection method R. So if you remember, the bisection method is, we have selected a function fx, and we are trying to find the root of this function fx, like we are trying to find some xi, f of xi equal to 0. So to get this, we select 2 points initially, a and b, such that f of a into f of b is less than 0, or the f images of that is fa and fb are having opposite sign. It means we have guaranteed the root is lying between the interval a and b. The next step, we bisect this interval, like we select the midpoint a plus b by 2. We say that it is our, and then our root is lies either between a to a plus b by 2 or a plus b by 2 to b. So each and every step of the bisection method, we are getting the next interval containing the root and whose length is half of the previous interval. So let us denote the successive intervals that we obtained by bisection method are this one. So like first we suppose this is the interval a naught comma b naught, and then in the second iteration, that is a1 comma b1. So either this a1 is a naught plus b by 2, or this b1 is a naught plus b by 2. And similarly we will get an comma bn, till if we like iterate till infinity, so we'll get this kind of sequence of interval in the bisection method. So here, when we started our bisection method, we know that our root is lying between a naught and b naught. So the next point a1, either a1 is equal to a naught, or a1 is a naught plus b naught by 2. So obviously you can see that a1 is greater than a naught, because in the next interval when we select this a1, either this a1 is equals to a naught, or this a1 is equals to a naught plus b by 2. So and similarly the same approach is for a2. And so in this sequence of interval, the this a naught a1 sequences are having this kind of property. This a naught a1 is greater than a naught, and it is a2 is greater than a1, and they are all obviously less than b naught, because they cannot go beyond b naught, because we are each and every time we are reducing the interval, and the first interval is a naught b naught. So this, now we go to the second sequence b1 a naught b naught is greater than b1. So obviously here again this b1. So one case is that this b1 is equals to b naught, and another case is that this b1 is a plus b by 2. If b1 is a plus b by 2, it means b1 is less than b naught, and if b1 is equals to b naught, then it is equals to b naught. So obviously b1 is less than b naught. Similar discussion on b2 also. b2 is less than equals to b1, and it goes, and they are not less than a naught, because the first interval is a naught, so b's cannot take values less than a naught. So we have this sequence of a's and sequence of b. Sequence of a is increasing but bounded by b naught, and sequence of b's are decreasing but bounded below by a naught. So if you remember the definition of a sequence in your first semester, and there is a theorem that if you have a sequence of increasing numbers and it is bounded above, then the sequence is convergent. This is the theorem that you learned in your first semester. The sequence of monotonically, there is a word monotonically increasing sequence. So they are increasing sequence, you can see, but it is bounded above. If you have such a sequence of number which are increasing but bounded above, they definitely going to convert some real number. Similarly, if you have a sequence of numbers decreasing and they are bounded below, then that sequence is also converged. These are the theorem that you have learned in your BTech first semester course when you learn your sequence and series topic. So from this we have the conclusion that this sequence AN converges. So what do we mean by the convergence of a sequence? It means this limit exists. Limit n tends to infinity AN exists. Similarly, limit n tends to Bn exists, because we are saying that the sequence, this one is converging, and we are also saying that this one is also converging. So it means these two limits should be exist. Okay. So this is the thing. Now we have go to our first interval. So if you see, we talk about only these two, and then you imagine others. Like any one of you can easily say that the length of this interval a b1, the length of this interval a1 comma b1 is b1 minus a1. Anyone can tell me, like anyone can imagine this, the length of the interval a1 comma b1 is b1 minus a1, and it is exactly half of this one, because that's the way we obtained. Either a1 is a naught by b, a naught plus b by 2, b naught by 2, or b1 is a naught plus b by 2. So a1 b1 minus a1 is equals to half of the b naught minus a naught. This is the length of the interval, first interval. B naught, the length of this interval is B naught minus A naught, and the length of this interval is B1 minus A1, and B1 minus A1 is exactly half of the B naught minus A naught. And similar is true for the, if we are getting any interval in the mid of the sequence. So Bn An comma Bn is the interval, and its length is Bn minus An, and it is exactly half of its previous intervals, like an minus 1 comma bn minus 1, and then we recursively apply, because this one is also exactly half to this, and finally we are having 1 upon 2 raised to power n b naught minus a naught. And then you take limit n tends to infinity, So this is a fixed quantity b naught minus a naught, but this is like 1 upon 2 raised to power n. This is going towards 0 as 1 by 2 is less than 1. So its nth power is going to 0, or its denominator is going to infinity. So the whole thing is turns out to be 0. So here we have this limit n tends to infinity, bn minus an is equals to 0. And then this we splitted this limit into different bn and an. We have this one, and this is equals to this, and because this is a minus sign and this is 0, so we take this to the other side, and this is equal to this, and we are saying this is actually p. So an and bn converges to the same point. Earlier here, up to here, our claim is that this sequence is converges. This sequence and this sequence are converges. The sequence of ANs and the sequence of BNs converges. But after this exercise, we have learned that both of them converges and converges to the same point. And the same point we are claiming is our P. We are assuming that it is P, but they are converging to the same points. A and B and sequences. That is the then so A and B and converging to the same point, say P. Now at each step of the iteration in the bisection method we have. If you remember, when you are going to select your next interval, you always check f a naught into b naught is less than 0, f a1 into f b1 is less than 0. So similarly, you have to check f an into f bn is less than 0, then only you select the next interval. Like then only you select the interval an comma bn. If it is not 0, then you select another interval. So each and every step of the bisection method, this condition has to be tested. Now you take the limit. If I take the limit, I will get this one. Limit n tends to infinity, f of an, f of bn is less than equal to 0. Now, as f is continuous function, that one is already assumed in the statement of the theorem. If this is a continuous function, then you know from your like limits case, even though that one is also discussed in your BTech first semester when you learn the topic continuity, limit and differentiability, that if your function is continuous, then your if function f is continuous, this is called the sequential definition of continuity. This is the exact word that we used in BTech first semester, sequential definition of continuity. So limit n tend to infinity, f of a n into f of bn is there. So first we splitted this limit to these two parts, and since f is continuous, if f is continuous, this outside limit goes to the argument, and this is can be done only if f is continuous. If f is not continuous, then this limit will not go to the argument. If it is going from here to the here, it means f is continuous. Otherwise, this is not applicable. So we have this one. And now we have already assumed that this an and bn are converging to p. Here we have assumed that this one an and bn p. So this is fp, and this is also fp. And then you have finally fp square is less than 0. If square of some quantity is less than or equal to 0, it means that quantity itself 0, because it cannot be negative, because its square is less than 0. So fp is 0. If fp is 0, it means p is the root of f, because we have find that na fp is 0, so we can say that p is the root. And what is p? Where this an and bn are converging. So if you perform infinitely many operation of bisection method, you get the root of the given function. So it means bisection method is always converged. So I think this topic is over, and so In tomorrow class, we learned how to solve system of linear equations. The system of equations, like here you are solving one equation like x cube plus x plus 1 equals to 0. Now we solve like x cube plus y square plus 3 equals to 0. Then another equation is like x plus y equal to 1, and we how to solve these kind of equations simultaneously. So we will discuss in tomorrow class. And almost all students are present here, like and one or two question I will add in that assignment that I already given to you. And then with that I share also the link of submission to the assignment. So this topic is over. If you have any question you can ask, or if you have time, then I will wait a minute.